Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. I really do appreciate you listening to this podcast. Now, the other day I got to thinking about my man, Zig Ziglar. As many of you know, if you've listened to my podcast, I am a Zig Ziglar fight. I am a Zig Ziglar fan. When I first saw Zig Ziglar, he was my inspiration to actually become a speaker. I was already in sales, but he really highlighted for me the beauty of sales and motivation. And one of the things that Zig Ziglar used to always say, one of his great phrases was that you have to have an attitude of gratitude. Now, I don't know if he came up with the line, but he was the one that kept repeating it. Attitude of gratitude. And I think that's an important statement, right? We have to be happy, take an accounting of what we have. It's so easy today to go negative. There's so many things around us that'll make you want to go negative. You turn on the TV, watch some news, that's enough to kind of make you want to jump off a cliff. You look on social media, everybody has an opinion, and again, everybody's trying to position themselves as an expert and tell you their life is great, when in reality we know maybe that's not truly the case. Everybody does not show their authentic self. So when I talk about an attitude of gratitude, the way I absorbed that was that sometimes we have to stop and just do a mental accounting of all the blessings that we have. All the things we should be thankful for. But I've realized that over time that there's something missing in that phrase. There's something that was left out. So I'm going to upgrade Zig Ziglar's statement and say, have an attitude of gratitude and latitude. Have an attitude of gratitude and latitude. Because I don't know what it is. Maybe time is mellowing me out a bit. And maybe it's because, again, I've seen too much. By latitude, I mean, I just give people more of a break. I've become more understanding. I've just realized that, humans are humans. We all make mistakes. And my young self used to always why'd they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they do that to me? How dare they? That whole thing. You probably have gone through that also, right? Somebody does something to you, and immediately there's that emotional, visceral response why would you do that? I can't believe you did that. And I've learned over time that what happens in many cases when somebody, let's say, does something to you, it's not a reflection of what's going on with you. It's a reflection of what's going on with them. It's really about something's wrong in their space. I want you to think about this. Next time you have a confrontation with somebody who's angry, and you're just looking at them why are you angry? And you realize that they're not angry at you. If you really analyze it, in many cases, unless you did something wrong, they're not angry at you. They're angry at themselves. And for whatever reason, they're blaming it on you. At least they're taking it out on you. You may have done something slightly wrong, and the response is not proportional, right? Maybe you left, a dirty plate on the counter, and the person blows up. Now, again, that's not proportional. Has nothing to do with the plate, has everything to do with what's going on in that person's life. And so again, for me, I realize, life is too short to be wasting mental energy on things that in 24 hours won't matter. Let's call that rule number one. Because in 24 hours, many of the things we discuss or talk about really don't matter, right? Even a month from now, it won't matter. A year from now, it probably really won't matter. One of the questions I often get is, Victor, I've been married now 31 years, been with my wife 33 years. And people always ask me, what's the secret? Well, there's a couple of secrets, but here's one big one. We let things go. By let things go is that, sometimes you're just going to do something stupid or something that just wasn't well thought out, and maybe you were just inconsiderate for a moment. And what we realize is that these are small moments compared to the bigger moments. For example, if I'm inconsiderate one time, well, that was a moment I was inconsiderate, but let's say that whole day, I was pretty considerate. And what I've learned is that you got to let go. We just let things go, and I want you to start exercising that. When a customer does something, instead of responding with that anger, sending out that mad email, talking to your manager how could this customer do this? Why did they change their mind? Understand that they may be going through something you don't understand. In psychology, they call it the fundamental attribution error. It is when you attribute something that's false to something. In other words, the fundamental attribution error, and I've talked about this in my past podcast, is when you assume certain things happen for a certain reason, and then you come to find out it's totally wrong. Like, for example, you call a customer up, and, it was a great meeting. You do a follow-up call, no response. A week later, still no response. 3 weeks later, they totally ghosted you. And now you're really angry. And 2 months later, the customer calls you. And they tell you about some unfortunate accident they had, that they've been in the hospital for 2 months. Now how do you feel? Pretty bad, I'm sure. See, we attributed the reason they didn't call back, we thought it was because something we did. Or maybe something went wrong, when in reality it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with something going on in their lives. So rule number 1 is, don't waste your time. Don't waste any mental energy on things that in 24 hours, if not less, are not going to matter. Also, I've realized rule number 3, life is a bunch of ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. See, I believe in a life of moderation. When great things happen to me, I always go, well, that's good. This is good. People say, well, you should be more excited. I said, no, it's good. It's good. When bad things happen, people say, man, that's horrible. I say, well, it's not good. It's bad. See, I always moderate. I've learned not to let myself go to the extremes. When something good happens, I don't over-celebrate. I just realize, hey, it's going my way. When something bad happens, I realize, that ain't going my way. But on the average, I think I'm always doing better. And so I think if you can moderate your emotions, right? Realize that life is about sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it don't, so forth and so on. When you think like that, you're less likely to get on an emotional roller coaster and be disappointed. But I also think rule number 3, I call it my empathy tank has gotten bigger over the years. And again, I realize that people who are constantly pessimistic, cynical, or just angry, again, it's not at me. It's just something going on with them. So I'm more empathetic. So when I talk about the attitude of gratitude and latitude, attitude of gratitude, appreciate what you have. Attitude of gratitude and latitude, also realize that, people are going to do certain things that you may not agree with. Customers are not going to get back to you in time. Maybe they'll go with somebody else. They're not loyal, whatever it may be. But realize that life is a bunch of ebb and flows. Sometimes it'll go your way, sometimes it won't. And your ability to moderate your emotions, your ability to stay even-keeled in the face of all this is what latitude is all about. When things go your way, great. When they don't, that's okay too, because eventually it will. But learn to give people a break. Grow your empathy tank. When they do something, when something doesn't go your way, feel for them. When they're angry, feel for them because they're going through something. The next time that person cuts you off in traffic, realize it's nothing to do with you. It's something to do with them. When somebody yells at you, a manager yells at you for some reason, you're like, whoa, that wasn't proportional. Realize it's not you. Something's going on. Be empathetic, be more forgiving, have more latitude in your life. Anyway, that's it for this Sales Influence podcast. I know this wasn't about selling, but this all has to do with mindset. The more even-keeled you can stay, the more effective you'll be in selling. Because the more you can moderate your emotions, the longer you can stay in the sales mental game. Don't let people throw you off balance by their stupid things or the stupid things they do. Again, stay even-keeled and realize everybody's going through something right now. Everybody's trying to get somewhere. And sometimes people stumble, and all you got to do is say, I understand, and you move on. Again, that's it for the Sales Influence podcast. Leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. Also, I love your feedback. I'm trying to get to as many of the emails I get as possible. So again, please be patient with me. And in the meantime, check out the Sales Velocity Academy. You know where to go. SalesVelocityAcademy.com if you're serious about increasing your sales velocity. And lastly, I want to thank you. This is Victor Antonio. Always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.